Hello everyone and welcome to the gooTards reunion. This video has kind of been cobbled together, I guess you could say. A lot of things changed while we were making it, and so I had to shuffle some things around, which is why it may seem a little bit disjointed. I might in a clip say something about like a main segment, which unfortunately had to be scrapped because of audio issues, but I hope you can just enjoy this video for what it is and celebrate 3 years of this podcast being around. Thank you, and let's get started. Alright, so welcome to our first interview of the gooTards reunion, and here with me I have Shelton.
Hey, how's it go? Oh my god, is this gooTards? Wow, I haven't been on this show in like 3 years.
So, how did you first learn about gooTards?
Me and my fellow gamers were sitting in computer science class, and there was this idea of creating a remarkable group of people called the gooTards. And that wasn't really the first thing we thought of. But we wanted to record ourselves doing stupid stuff, and eventually a podcast came about.
So yeah, you were one of like the founding members. So I guess that question's a little bit
That's okay.
So how do you feel like overall about your time in the podcast? Like just how you spent it, you know?
Well, I was very young and stupid. My voice was 10 times higher than what it currently is. So I was like a little man-child of the podcast, but that's alright. It was pretty fun. I mean, definitely a group of teenagers creating a podcast shouldn't have been our, like, go-to thing. Mainly because, you know, not everyone would have the same ideas as each other. Plus, we're a bunch of kids in high school not knowing what we're talking about. But overall, it was fun.
Okay. Is there anything you would have done differently had you been in charge?
Yeah, there would have been. Not really. John really, you really had your ducks in a row. It was just mainly your, co-hostess. The other people in the podcast, they really didn't help. And by they, I mean I was really one of the main people that would influence it as well. So, keyword gooTards, tard for retarded, because we were that, and we were definitely that. Would you like an example?
Sure, go right ahead.
Well, there was a short period of time where your computer was down, and hey John, is your computer fixed yet? Hey John, is your computer fixed yet? Like, day after day. Eventually, you just wanted to, you know, take the nearest object and make it disappear with it.
I'd say that's an accurate description of how it went down.
Yeah, it doesn't help that episode 0, which what I'd say is like the Forbidden Gone episode that randomly disappeared, was about ghosts and stuff, and it kind of never got uploaded. And there was a nice dispute in that one too about whether ghosts were real or not, but people can't take spooky ghost stories seriously, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, you know, there's that whole computer issue, and then people constantly have to rescheduling, and I guess internet issues too. It was pretty fun, and it gained too much popularity in our friend group. Like, we just kind of went to school the next day and said, hey, all of us are in a podcast, go check it out. And it kind of died pretty fast.
Yeah, I think that might have been a problem that hasn't really been addressed yet.
Yeah, I do. That's kind of, you know, with the good old SlamCast, just trying to keep it on a low grade level and let it slowly build up. And I would say it definitely has somewhat worked in a way.
It's working so far.
Yeah. So that's the method we probably should have done, instead of just like, you know, balls out, hey, look at us type of deal. But if gooTards does come back, I feel like that's the approach it should take. If gooTards was to be resurrected one day, they should totally take it low and slow and not like announce it right away. Just let it regrow its popularity.
I think you're speaking some facts right here.
For once, I'm actually using the good old noggin.
Okay, so any more thoughts on what you would have done differently?
Um, you know, it's a podcast. You can't really go too wrong with podcasts unless you get controversial or get canceled because you said something wrong.
Let's not
So,
bring up the True podcast.
yeah, that's a good podcast too. But I think that's about it.
Okay, so overall, just in general, what do you think about the podcast and like just everything about it in general?
I feel like the podcast had wasted potential. It could have gone places if it was taken more seriously. But like I said, we were at a young age, so a bunch of sophomores in high school couldn't really take anything seriously at the time. Um, I really liked it. It was fun and it encouraged me to attempt to join another podcast, which I never really made my grand appearance in it because I was too busy playing Minecraft with a woman that I don't talk to no longer today. And the second approach I took at a podcast was making my own, and I will say I like it. Because, well, it's still here today, so that's pretty awesome. Yeah, just, gooTards had potential, and I really liked it.
Alright, so that's basically your thoughts, is that it's wasted potential.
Yeah.
Alright, do you have anything else to add?
You know what's not wasted potential? Have you ever heard of DJ Sheltron? That guy's not wasted potential. That guy is pure good, 100% original content.
Okay, well, thank you, Shelton, for being here.
You're welcome.
And now we're going to move on to our next interview.
Let's go!
So, welcome to our next interview. This time we have Raphael here with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing alright. How about you, John?
I'm okay. So, my first question. How did you learn about gooTards?
Well, you see, John, I, Raphael, was the founding father of gooTards. I remember in Mr. Maiden's classroom, we were just messing around and we decided to come up with some sort of plan to make YouTube videos and stuff. And slowly that plan turned into gooTards podcast. So that's how I found out about gooTards podcast.
That's such an inspiring story. How do
Thank
you feel about your time in the podcast? Like, do you think it was well spent?
I feel that my time in the podcast was wonderful. I enjoyed every single second of it. Even though there was an episode where my microphone wasn't working, I still enjoyed it. Crazy everyone there. The thunderstorm one was amazing. We just had an ambient sound already there for us. Now the first episode, how can we forget about the first episode? But not even that, how can we forget about episode 0? The one that never launched.
So, Raph, it sounds like you're a bit of a super fan.
I am a super fan. I'm a fanboy. Fanboy. I'm not a fanboy.
Is there anything else for that one?
No.
Okay. Here's an interesting question for you. Is there anything you would have done differently if you had been in charge?
For gooTards podcast?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
There's nothing I would have done differently. However, I am now in charge, Remember the vote we had and all the results?
Pretty sure it was a tie between you and Ethan, and... I mean, are you doing this reunion, or is it me?
It's you who came up with the idea.
Okay,
but
well...
The future of gooTards, it's in the palm of my hands.
Okay, I'm sure. Overall, what do you think about the podcast?
I believe that the podcast taught us many things. Taught us how to preserve memories, how to set up stuff like podcasts, obviously. But most importantly, it taught us friendship. That no matter where we are or who we are, we can always get together in a voice call and have a great time.
Okay. Very insightful, very inspiring. I'm sure all the viewers are going to really, really love that.
Thank you.
Alright, well, thank you for being here, and now we're going to move on to our next segment.
I'll see you guys over there.
Dane, John, welcome. I'm glad you could make it for this interview after, a few days.
Nah.
Alright. You ready?
Let's go.
Okay. So our first question, how did you learn about gooTards?
Being held at gunpoint, offered a seat on the council of Koch to be specific,
Mm-hmm.
and by John.
It was exactly how it went.
Yes.
Okay. Real story, though. How did you learn about it?
Still through you.
Did I tell you? Was that?
No, you pretty much just went up to me and were like, hey, want to do this with us? I'm like, sure.
Sounds about right.
I got free time.
Okay. Not anymore. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. How do you feel about your time in the podcast? Good, bad?
Very
Probably
empty.
bad.
Very empty. Very empty.
That's probably the most perfect way I've heard anyone describe it.
Because mostly I didn't talk. I don't talk in group chats.
Well, we know. You asked for a bonfire the same day Ryan was already having a bonfire.
And then I also never relayed information for the current bonfire.
Uh-huh.
I made sure Shelton did, and then I would call Shelton.
Yeah. It's okay. He does the job fine.
Yeah, he's a good intern.
Yeah. How much you pay him?
Pay?
Okay. Any other thoughts on it?
Nope.
Okay. What would, if you had been in charge, what would you have done differently?
More frequent uploads, as well as scheduling issues that could have been resolved
Yeah.
or spoken through further.
Yeah. Look, is there anything else you would have done differently, or?
No, that's about it. Probably just scheduling conflicts, making sure everybody knew like what we were doing.
Yeah.
Scheduling of the talking points and of the video.
Yeah, because we didn't really have like any sort of like
Flows, kind of just spontaneous. In
yeah.
a
I mean,
way.
we had topics, but like it was no one coming up with them as we were doing it.
Yeah.
So. Okay, and overall, what are your opinions? Like, what do you think about your time?
Could have been better spent. No, it could have been more engaging at the same time as more communicative, so that we didn't have to run into a bunch of the issues that we have.
We had plenty of issues. Yeah.
Mostly
Plenty.
on my end.
No, mostly on my end.
Nah.
Okay, is that all? Or do you have anything else to add?
Nope.
Goodbye, gooTards. Alright, well thank you,
Adios,
Dan.
pendejos.
Thank you very much for being here. Finally doing this interview with me.
Yep, 4 days late.
4?
4 to the last reschedule. More
Yeah.
to the previous first reschedule.
Well, thank you, and now we're going to move on to our next segment, or next interview. I honestly can't even remember what we're doing now.
Nice.
Alright, hello everyone. We are here with Max for an interview. Max, you want to say hello?
Hi.
Alright. So, first question here. How did you learn about gooTards?
From like you and Sheldon like rap.
Like we told you, was it online or like in person, like at lunch or
I
something?
think it was with a group chat.
Okay.
And then you guys talked more about it during lunch.
And you were in there for, was it all 3 episodes?
I think so.
Okay. How do you feel about your time in the podcast?
I thought it was funny as fun. It was very fun.
Okay. Is there anything that you would have done differently had you been in charge?
Nah, I think I probably would have done it worse.
What do you think you would have done worse?
Organizing everything.
Mhm.
I'm bad at organizing shit. So yeah, scheduling, timing. Yeah, that would have been terrible.
Okay. Anything else?
The recording for the audio, literally everything, editing and everything.
So you would have done it differently, but worse if you were in charge.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So overall, what do you think about the podcast? Like, just your final, like, say your piece. Like, what did you think about it?
Well, they're interesting, to say the least.
No, don't say say it all, bro. Just let it all out.
Nah, yeah, they were weird, but they were funny. More on the weird part, though.
I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I just thought they were weird, but they were really fun. They were really funny.
Okay. Is that all, or do you have anything else to add?
Nah, that's pretty much it. Other than that, they were just flat out weird.
Alright, well, Max, thank you for taking your time to do this interview.
Yes, you are welcome for my presence.
Welcome to our next interview. I have Nolan with me here right now. Nolan, how are you doing today?
Hello. I'm doing good today.
Are you being held at gunpoint or something?
No. The DC snipers haven't come for me yet.
Okay. First question for you. How did you learn about gooTards?
I heard about it from one of you, I think, or at least on Discord. I'm pretty sure it was you specifically. You guys said, like, yeah, do you guys want to do a short podcast thing? Especially during school, that you guys are like, yeah, you guys want to do a podcast or whatever? They said, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool. And that's how it started.
I see. I actually remember running into you on the first day we were doing it, where, when we were actually recording ourselves. I remember, like, encountering you in the hallway at some point.
Yeah.
So that might have been your first interaction with it, but you didn't know what it was at the time.
Yeah, you guys said something vague, and I don't think I remembered it at the time. But
That sounds about right.
yeah, that does.
Okay. How do you feel about your time in the podcast?
I feel like it was fun, at least for the time that we did it, because I genuinely enjoyed us trying to come up with something to do, us trying to do the planning, and ultimately failing, but at the same time, I like the concept of it.
Alright. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Is there anything you would have done differently had you been in charge?
I would have gotten a second editor, frankly, because I know the load that you have to deal with you pretty much editing hour-long episodes just really tore it apart. So I think it'd be best if we change that, if we ever do that in the future.
Yeah, I think that would help ease a lot of it, to have more than one person working on it behind the scenes.
Exactly, yeah.
It was just the big problem was nobody was capable of doing that.
And they probably won't be for a while.
Yeah, that's the sad part about doing any of these things.
And it's only there till, high school.
Mm-hmm.
Then everyone's fucking gone.
So, anything else differently, or is that it?
Also, if I were to change anything, it would be one person would be the primary leadership, because while it's nice to have groups doing things together, it is good to have someone who's on track if not all the time, who knows what kind of schedule they want to keep.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you sort of fit the role, but at the same time, you were busy too, so you couldn't completely commit to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Finally, overall, what do you think about the podcast?
I think it was stupid, but at the same time, I liked how we went through it. I liked that we could just do that whenever we wanted to, and I liked that even though it was short-lived, it came out, it finished on our terms, as in you ended it because you knew there was too much to do, and we didn't try to struggle through it for too long. So we reflected on ourselves pretty easily before we made any rash decisions for that. But yeah, that's pretty much an agreement of what you said.
Okay. So, any other thoughts?
I think that for what Shelton said too, it might be better to do vlogs, especially since we're always better as a group together.
Yeah.
And trying to do anything online is not only a pain sometimes, but it's just a lot of work.
All right. Well, Nolan, thank you for being here, and we're going to move on to our next interview now.
Back to the void I go.
All right. Welcome back, everyone, to our next interview. And here with me, we have Marshall. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Tired. It's been a long day. I've been up since like 6 this morning.
Nice.
Yeah, sir. Going off a good 5 hours of sleep, man. But we're chilling. We're chilling.
All right. Well, how did you learn about gooTards?
Oh man, what? Well, I've known you guys since about freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just along the way, I don't know who. It was probably you who brought it up, but eventually it just kind of manifested itself in our
Just
group.
kind of appeared.
Did, and then it was like, guys, like we should like make this an actual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone went in like that unison agreement, like, yeah, okay, I'm down.
All right. So, how do you feel about your time in the podcast? Is it good, bad? Like, you think you wasted it? Like, anything like that?
No, I like it. I like this podcast. It's cool, it's kind of a way to like relive our memories of high school.
And, like, you're a special case because the only episode you were really in, it kind of bugged out on us. So, I mean, I really wish there was a way for you to, like, come back. We should have gotten you back on one of the other ones. But, I mean, I guess we can try later. We can maybe get you on... Oh, we already got you on SlamCast, so I think you kind of had your time to redeem yourself, I guess.
I did, and I guess like the weird thing about like the one interview we had that got corrupted, it was when I was explaining the ghost story.
I know, that's just so weird how that worked out.
I know, man. Like, whew, coinkydink, bro. I don't think so, but
Yeah, I don't know. There's something more there.
yeah.
All right. Is there anything you would have done differently had you been in charge?
No, because I feel like running something like this is not my specialty. I feel like it would have went downhill way too fast. I'm a leader in other senses when it comes to like a lot more hands-on thing, but like when it comes to like
with the beach day.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you were like on top of that, getting us pulled out of classes just so we could come and discuss it with you. Like we had that down to a T.
Yes, but on I think stuff like this, it's just not my strong suit. You feel me?
Yeah, I mean I get it. It's not for everyone, honestly.
Yes, I do enjoy being on them though. That is one thing I enjoy.
All right. Anything else to add for that?
I feel like you have made a good leader on this. Like, in all honesty.
I don't hear that much.
Like, in all reality, you are the one that's going around asking the questions, doing the interviews, within them time frames, making sure everyone's available. And, like, that takes some hard work, bro.
Well,
that's a lot.
It takes hard work and also a lot of procrastination because, fun fact for everyone listening, this is being recorded, what is it? 8 days before the video is supposed to be out. And I've been planning this for 5 months, maybe? So, we're going on procrastination here, but it seems to be working so far.
Well, think about it like this. If we ever make it famous, you feel me? People are going to look at these episodes and they're going to hear our voices and they're going to be like, holy shit, they were young.
Right.
We're going to have a good laugh about it.
It's crazy to think about how that is possible. Even with like the videos that I work on with Shelton, how one day that could be like the foundation of something.
Yes, really could be. That's just the crazy part of it all, man.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
So overall, what do you think about the podcast? Not just your time in it, but everything about it.
I think it's cool. You feel me? It's like a really good way that our friend group has just kind of like been a part of. You know, it's like a big thing.
Mm-hmm. Almost like a way to just keep us going even after we graduated, even though most of it took place before we graduated.
Yes, because what I've known all of you for almost 5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was the random Mexican new kid on the block, and we were in freshman PE, and we were all kind of like, we should play tag.
And that still
So-
goes on to this day.
Yes, we
I
basically
think
had.
Grayson's it right now, actually.
Do you remember the days of seeing somebody in the hall and then yelling "Border Patrol" and then just
I do remember that.
those are the days, man. So now, honestly, it's almost like a legacy. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So I really like what it is and what all of this is, honestly.
Yeah. Well, alright,
How about-
any more thoughts?
Yeah, how about you? What do you think of the podcast, John?
No one has asked me yet because they always assume I'm doing the interviewing. I feel like overall, you're asking?
Yes,
It
overall.
it was a very good learning experience for me. It was a way for me to just kind of find my footing with doing this stuff and to learn what not to do. Because there was a lot of learning what not to do.
What would you say like the biggest tips of not to do is?
Try to keep it small. Don't add too many people. And just kind of go with your gut. When something doesn't feel like it's working, don't do it.
Okay, so it's kind of like do what you love.
Mm-hmm. It's just whatever you feel comfortable doing, whatever you have the passion to do that, and ignore everything else. Because if your heart isn't in it, and you just, like, if you're not having fun, because, like, there was a time, that's why this podcast kind of died. It was just not fun anymore, and that's kind of what I learned. If I'm not having fun doing this, don't do it.
Yeah, I can respect that, bro.
Alright, anything else? Okay, well, thank you, Marshall, so much for being here, and we're going to head back to the main segment now. So, we're here at the final interview with my good friend Ethan,
Hi.
and let's just get started. How did you learn about gooTards?
So we said we started this like sophomore year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I remember correctly, it would have either been, I think it was most likely Raph, but I feel like I had a class with him, and it was around the time where all the white kids at Northridge were wanting to make podcasts and everything like that, like with Josiah and Drew with Broskies, and then our beloved Eddie Eduardo Garcia doing the True podcast with.
So this was race related?
No, it's not race related. It's not race related. If it was race related, we had like a blend of like white and non-white. Like, yeah,
We're a very
we had
diverse group, the gooTards.
very diverse group.
We got
of
white
just
boys, we got
freaking-
Mexicans, and we got Filipinos.
Exactly, and we were all stupid, like really stupid.
Part of the name.
Exactly, and so it was around that time when everyone was making those podcasts, and I feel like it was Raph that recruited me towards it, and it was like the second episode that you guys did, I was like the guest star on that, and then I came around for the third episode and the unuploaded trial episode.
That trial will never see the light of day.
Mhm.
I'm dead.
Not been bad.
It's not. I mean, it is. Okay, it's bad. It's just really weird and boring, and there's nothing interesting to it.
It derailed.
It's not like
there
anyone.
was-
It's not like True Podcast episode 2 where someone said the N-word. It's just really, really bad, and just like boring.
I forgot they said the N-word. I remember when I was listening to that episode,
I feel like I was playing Minecraft with.
I thought
like,
they never
Jacob
uploaded it. Did they
Hogan.
give it to you like early or something?
They might have.
Okay,
But
'cause,
like I feel like I was
we've
listening.
been
to
waiting
It.
for that for a long time.
I feel like I was listening to it, or I was listening to the clip of it, and I was playing Minecraft, and like I was in a Discord call with like Evan Nay and Jacob Hogan and all of that, and that group of friends of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember like listening to the clip and was like, "Oh my god!" Like it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was something else.
Yeah.
All right. So, how do you feel about your time in the podcast?
I feel like it was well spent because, like, especially how the episodes I was on, or at least the third episode, it was around the time that COVID was starting, and so none of us were really able to like see each other as
Mhm.
often, and just being able to actually talk with the friend group and everything like that, even if it was for the stupid podcast. I feel like it was time well spent, and it was just a good time talking to everybody and everything like that,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
including the
mean,
second episode.
even with some of the blunders that were made during that time, I still look back on it very fondly. Like going and booting up the Minecraft realm and playing it with like Shelton and Dane and like that kind of stuff. Just being able to spend time with them, not in person, was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have so many old late night Xbox calls that some of them have been recorded, like for funny moments and stuff. But yeah, I think I recorded an
good.
entire day one time because I accidentally left the screen recorder on. There was like a 6-hour long video on my cloud drive somewhere.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Alright. Is there anything you would have done differently had you been in charge?
Well, I was almost in charge.
Yeah, with that poll. That
Mm-hmm.
never actually led to anything.
Yeah, because you said that you were like stepping down,
Mhm.
and we like voted on who was going to be the next gooTards leader, and it was like Raph and I that were the leading two votes. Like we were tied. So technically, Raph and I should have been the next two like big boys leading the scene,
Mhm.
but
One could say you would have been a council.
a council, exactly.
Like a
A
council
council
of
of
gamers.
gooTards.
I mean, what? Foreshadow.
Huh? Huh?
Reference that no one's gonna get unless I make a
Oh,
video
yeah.
on that. So anyway, you don't think you would have done anything differently had you been in charge or no?
No, I don't think so. At least with the podcast side of things. Like, I know you mentioned at some point that, like, the whole plan was to venture outside of podcasts, but
That
I
was
feel like
that was like the original plan. Was we wanted to
Mhm.
like record our shenanigans around the school and like the conversations and stuff, but we would have
Yeah.
gotten in trouble to if we were to do that. So
probably, like, I feel like it would have been fun, like, in the hallways, just stopping random people and asking them like, the most absurd questions and putting in videos
well, I mean,
or,
you
like,
know
gooTards
the
go
weird
putt-putting.
spontaneous things that happened at school sometimes. Like
Oh,
the things in the lunchroom where people just start throwing stuff at each other, or like Ben shotgunning the what is it, Red Bull or whatever it was.
I think it was, like, a Kickstart or
Yeah,
something like that.
or like just weird stuff like that would just pop up on there.
I have so many videos from freshman year that I was going to make a video of all the stuff that happened. Like, there was a time where light was, like, reflecting through the big glass windows in the cafeteria.
Oh, I remember this.
And we all had our Chromebooks and our phones out, and we were reflecting light onto the wall, and we were just making penises all over the place.
Yeah.
And then there was another video. I forget the kid's name. He was in... I don't know if you were in my freshman gym class. You might have been.
Was it with like everyone?
It was with Mason and Jacob
Nope.
Hogan. Okay. But there was a kid in there, which I've got a video of this too. Jacob Hogan and I put this kid in a locker. Like, he
I've seen
put
that
himself
video.
in there, but we closed the locker and he just started screaming. But I remember, like, it was the first day of second semester, and that kid was sitting at a table, like, 2 tables down from, like, my table.
Mhm.
And he, like, screamed all the time, and I wanted to get a video of it. And so I like asked one of their friends, going like, "Hey, can you tell them to scream again?" And so they just like trot on over to him, tap him on the shoulder, and like whisper in their ear, and he just freaking screeches in the middle of the lunchroom as loud as he can.
It's stuff like that about school that I really do miss.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think I would have done anything differently. Like the plan that you guys had in mind, I probably would have done the same
So
thing.
you would have just like tried to stick with it instead of letting it crumble.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
This is an ideal world we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm. An ideal world,
Yeah.
so something that would definitely not happen.
Yeah. All right. So our final topic, just overall in general, what are your thoughts about the podcast? Like looking back on it.
I think it was fine. It was a fun experience to be a part of and everything like that. Like, I'm not gonna look back on it later on in life and say, "Man, that really did suck." Like,
I might.
I could
You
have
never
been,
know.
I could have been studying with that time. I could have tried having a relationship at that time. I could have freaking gone to Pornhub. I don't know. Like, I could have. I'm not gonna look back and say that I wasted that time because it was genuinely fun being able to have goofy conversations with the whole friend group and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a good, well spent time, especially during COVID and around the time when it was like our halfway points through high school, and we're like, "Oh, where are we gonna go in life?"
Yeah.
Like, it was a good experience to have with everyone.
Yeah. Well, Ethan, thank you so much for being here. And now we're gonna move back to the final topic of the reunion.
Swag.